Hello, welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to start by answering these two questions. First, how do people usually make new friends? And how did you meet your most recent friend? Think about this so we can share in class. Okay, great. Now, think about this. Have you made any new friends since the pandemic started? And if so, how did you meet them? Remember to have your ideas ready before our class so we can all share. Okay, great. Now, here I have a conversation between two people. I need you to please pause the video, read the conversation, and tell me what they are talking about. Okay, so if you notice, it's a conversation between two friends, and one of them is telling them that he's been studying English for a while and is inviting the other friend to go with him, right? Okay, great. So let's continue. Now, here we have the conversation again, but this time I want you to identify all of the tenses that you can. For example, how is your English class this year? In this case, ising present, right? The present of be. Let's see what else we can find. I am learning a lot of new words. If you notice, this is present continuous. Now pause the video and try to find a few more. How many did you find? We're going to share in class. Now, today we're talking about tenses. We're going to cover the present of verb to be, simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous, past of be, simple past, past continuous, and of course, modal verbs. So let's go ahead and begin. Now, here I have all of the tenses and I also have some examples. For example, we have present of be. Let's find one example. I am learning a lot of new words. No, right? Let's keep going. Have you ever gone to an open house? How is your English class this year? If you think that's the correct one, you're right. We have is, the present of verb to be. Now pause the video and match the rest. Okay, let's go ahead and check. So, then we have simple present. Your answer should have been, that sounds nice. What did you have for present continuous? I'm learning a lot of new words, that's right. For present perfect, you should have had, have you ever gone to an open house? And for present perfect continuous, I've been studying English for about 6 months. Now, for the past of be, you should have selected it was a little difficult at first. What did you get in simple past? That's right, I didn't like it. And for past continuous? I was studying French, that's correct. So obviously the last one, the modal verbs, is I can make it. Okay, let's go ahead and check how we use them. So, here we have two examples. We use the present of verb to be to talk about an action that is in progress in the present, specific functions, a present state, or an action that was in progress in the past and it was possibly interrupted. Well, we use the present of verb to be to talk about a present state. How is your English class this year? Now, pause the video and try to identify the other one, the past of verb to be. So, we use the past of verb to be to talk about a past state. It was a little difficult at first. Did you have the same? Great job. Now, let's go ahead and continue. Now, I need you to please pause the video and match the use to simple present and to present continuous. Pause the video, please. Okay, let's go ahead and check. We use the simple present to talk about verb by adding an S or an ES if we have he, she, or it. Now, for the present continuous, they were talking about things that are in progress in the present, like I am learning a lot of new words. If you notice here the structure, we're using the present of verb to be, in this case am, and we're using our verb with ing. Okay, great, let's continue. Now, how do I use the present perfect and the present perfect continuous? Pause the video while you try to match this. Okay, let's see. We use the present perfect to talk about a finished or unfinished action that started in the past and that is connected to the present. Here we can talk about experiences, for example. Have you ever gone to an open house? And a little different is present perfect continuous. Here we're talking about an action that is unfinished. It started in the past, but it is still true. I have been studying English for about 6 months. I started 6 months ago, but it continues. Now, if you see the structure is very similar, we're using an auxiliary have or even has. Then for present perfect, we should use the past or the past participle of a verb. Yeah, the past participle. And for present continuous, present perfect continuous, we use have been and then our verb with ing. Okay, let's continue. Now, identify the uses of simple past and past continuous. Okay, let's go ahead and check. Use the simple past to talk about an action that happened in the past. This action is finished, right? Here, remember, if it is a regular verb, we use d or ed, but if it is an irregular one, we need to remember it. Now, to form the past continuous, we should use the verb to be in past, was or were, and our verb with ing. We use it to talk about an action that was in progress in the past, and possibly it was interrupted. Okay. Finally, when do we use modal verbs? I have some examples here. Can, could, should, must, will, may, might, and could again. In this case, we know that we use modal verbs for specific functions. They may talk about a possibility, they may talk about a necessity, or even the future. So that's going to vary. What we need to remember is that after a modal verb, we need to use the base form of our verb. I can make it. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Now, you can go to your student book page 144. Here, you're going to find information and yes/no questions with all of the structures we just reviewed. So, if you notice, for information questions, we usually use a WH word. Where, who, when, what, which, for example. And we can also use how. Now, what do we do after that? Well, you need to remember that in a question, the order is a little different than in a sentence. In a usual sentence, what you do is you use the subject and then the verb, like I study English. But in an information question, we need an auxiliary before the subject. Do you study English? Notice that we use do before. Here you can see some examples. With the present or past of verb to be, we use verb to be before our subject. How is your English class this year? If you notice, your English class is the subject. Where was your mother born? Again, we have our auxiliary, verb to be, and our subject. For the rest of the tenses, you have specific auxiliaries like do or did. We are taking verb to be in the continuous tenses as our auxiliary. And we have a have for present perfect and present perfect continuous. Remember, all of these will go before your subject, but the rest of the verb is going to be later. With modals, remember in a question, modal how do we make them into yes/no questions? Well, it's very easy. You just need to remove the WH word. For example, are you happy? Or why are you happy? If you notice, I'm just using or deciding not to use the word why. And that is going to change a yes/no question to an information one. Okay, let's go ahead and practice. So, we need to go to student book page 144, exercise A. This is going to be your homework where we're going to do a couple of examples. What we need to do is to complete some questions using the forms on the left with the verbs in parentheses. For example, 1 and 2 are the present of verb to be. Where your family from originally? In this case, we know it's the present and we have verb to be. If you remember, that is am, are, and is. Now, we have your family. Which one should we use? Yeah, we should definitely use where is your family from originally. What about number 2? Your parents from another city? In this case, because it's plural, we're going to use are. Are your parents from another city? Let's do number 3. What your favorite game when you were little? In this case, we need to use the past of verb to be. So no am, no is, and no are. We should use was because we're talking about one game. So what was your favorite game when you were little? Now, pause the video while you work on the rest of the questions. Okay, let's work on the second part. Here are the other questions you're going to need to complete. And remember to have this ready before our class so we can all check together. I will see you then. Goodbye!